Stakeholders, welcome to part 2 of multi-user authentication system in Laravel. If you haven't watched that video, you better go and watch that video because this video is continuation of the logic that we have already started in the part 1 or in the previous video. Okay, so now what we have to fix is that since we have already guarded the profile pages for the admin or the home pages of the admin with the auth middleware, that means if we try to access that page without being authenticated or without logging in, we will not be able to see that page because authenticate middleware will kick us out from that page since we are not logged in. Now in order to verify that, let's try to access the home page or the profile page for the admin. Now since we are not logged in, so we should be kicked out by the auth middleware and we should be redirected back to the admin login form, this one where we currently are. So let's see if it really happens. Okay, so two things happen. First, what we are expecting that we are not able to see that page, but the second thing that we expected is not happening. That is, we should have been redirected back to the admin login form since we were trying to access the home page of a particular admin. But instead, we have been redirected back to the customer login form. What could be the reason for that? Well, we should be able to figure out this by now because we have already discussed this. So again, it has to do with this auth middleware. So as we have already discussed, since we are not authenticated, eventually this function will execute. And this one is telling us that return to the login form for the customer. So over here we have to define certain logic that makes us figure out what kind of page we want to access, and based on that page we should be redirected back to the correct login form. Unfortunately, we have no way to define that logic in this function, redirect to function. We would have been able to define the logic over here had we been able to figure out what kind of card is currently being used, and based on that card, we could get redirected back to the correct login form. But there is no way to access the card information over here. So therefore, we have to figure out some other way. And the other way is to create another middleware. So to create a middleware, the command is php artisan make middleware. And the name that we should give is redirect if not admin. So this is the name that we are going to assign our middleware. Could not open input file. Okay. Okay. So as middleware has been successfully created, and where is it created? It's created in app http middleware. So let's check it. So this is the middleware that has been created, and this is the overall structure of a basic middleware. Now if you notice, by default it contains one method which is called handle. Every middleware is supposed to have this one method called handle. Without this method, a middleware will not function properly. This handle is the execution point for any middleware. It's like a main method in Java or in C. Every program is supposed to have a main method from where the execution starts. So similar concept is over here. Every middleware is supposed to have a function called handle, and middleware will start executing from this method handle whenever a middleware is called. So we can define the logic over here, and then once the logic is done, this is the last statement that is supposed to execute, which says return next, and as a parameter the request has been passed on. So what happens is that, as we have already seen in our kernel.php file, we have a list of middlewares. So when one middleware stops executing or finishes its execution, it transfers the control to next middleware in line. So this is the statement which makes this possible. So return, next, and request. So next means whatever is the next middleware in line, return the control to that middleware. So let me open kernel.php file. So as you can see, suppose these are the middlewares which are all being executed. Let's go up over here. So these are global middlewares. So first middleware that will execute is this. When this middleware stops executing or finishes its execution, it will call this next method, this next, which means the control will pass on to this second middleware. And once this middleware has done its execution, then that middleware will also call return next and pass on the original request method to that middleware, which is this in this case. So this is how one by one all the middlewares will execute. And when it's the last middleware, then next will return the control back to the controller. So this is how we will reach to the correct method in the controller. Okay, so this is the overall structure. Every middleware is supposed to have a function called handle, which gets passed in 3 parameters. Sorry, not 3, 2 parameters. Now let's define the logic. So we are going to check if the user is currently logged in as an admin. So if the user is not currently logged in as an admin while trying to access the home page for the admin, in that case we should be redirected back to the admin login form. So if not authenticated with the guard admin, but we have to chain in the check method, because this will actually check if the user who's currently trying to access a page which is guarded with admin guard, in that case the user should be returned to, we can use redirect method or route as well. So to route admin/login. So if you are not currently logged in, or if you are not currently authenticated with the admin guard and you are trying to access a page which is guarded with the admin guard, in that case you should be returned back to the admin.login page. Okay, so this part is done. We have created a middleware. We have also defined the logic. Now we have to register this middleware with the Laravel framework. Otherwise, Laravel will not include this middleware or will not be aware of this middleware. So we already know that the middlewares are defined or registered in the kernel.php file. Okay, over here. So the first group is global. So these middleware run every time any HTTP request is sent. Second one is called middleware groups, and this one, if it's a web based, then these middlewares execute. If it's API based, then this middleware executes. Okay, and when we don't mention any middleware, this is the middleware group that by default gets executed. So these are default middlewares that gets executed, and then we have this route middleware. So now we can define our middleware, the new one that we have created. We can register it over here, or we can also register it over here. So where shall we define it? Well, as you know, if we define a middleware over here, it will be something like, let's give it a name, admin.auth. Then it's going to be app http middleware, and then the name redirect if not authenticate, if not admin, and it's a class if not admin. Okay, so we can do this. In that case, we can use this alias whenever we want to use this middleware, or the other way is we define it as a third group in this one, middleware groups. So in that case, let's give it a name admin, and since each element of this middleware groups is an array, so square brackets, and let's copy this whole thing and paste it over here. Okay, so we can choose any method we like. However, since we have used auth middleware from this group, and we will eventually be using guest from this group as well, so you already know that how to use any middleware from this group. However, we don't know yet how to use a middleware from this group. So I'm going to go with this method so that we can learn a new method of accessing a middleware. Okay. So we have created a middleware, we have defined the logic, and we have also registered it. Is there anything left before we use it? Oh yes, now we have attached this middleware as a guard to a particular route. So let's go to routes and let's see which route do we want to guard with this middleware. So this is the route that we want to be guarded with that middleware that we have just created. But if I remember correctly, we have created a constructor and we have defined a global middleware for all the functions in this controller. So now we are in the admin account, and over here, if you notice, we have defined this construct where we have defined this middleware. That means it's a global middleware. So all the functions that we define over here will have this middleware. But now we have created another middleware. So that means we have to change the name from this middleware to name is admin. So now we don't want to use the auth middleware with the admin guard. Rather, we want to use this redirect if not admin guard, and this will take care of everything. So now the name of the middleware that we are using is admin. Now remember, this admin is not a guard, rather a middleware or a group of middlewares defined in the middleware groups over here. But currently it contains only one middleware. It can have many middlewares. So let's check this if it's working. First refresh, then admin/home. Okay, the return value must be of type blah 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 response string returned. Okay, so the thing is this route function returns the URL, which is string, so that string is being returned. So instead we have to say to_route. So this will actually a short form for the redirect chain with the route method. So it's something like redirect to this route. So this is the shorter form of this. Okay, so hopefully now it's fixed. Refresh. Good. So let's give one more try. Admin home while we are not logged in. Now we got redirected back to the login page for the admin instead of the login page for the user. Let's try the same thing, and we got redirected back to the login page for the customer. Okay, so both of them are working fine. Okay, so now that's out of the way. Now what's left to do? The next thing is that let's try to log in as an admin. Okay, admin1 at admin.com and 1234. Now let's log in, and we have been redirected back to the admin page. Let's delete this session and let's refresh. And because now we are not logged in, so we got redirected back to the login form. Okay, so now we are done with this aspect of the authentication system as well. Now let me show you one more problem. Let's log in one more time. Submit. Okay, so now we have successfully logged in. Now let's try to access the login page one more time. So we are still able to see this login form even though we are already logged in. So now we need to fix this issue such that when we are already logged in, we should not be able to see this login form. So when we enter this address in the address bar and we are already logged in, then we should not be able to see this page. Rather, we should be redirected back to the, let's suppose, the home page. So how do we fix this problem? So the way to fix this problem is we have to attach another middleware which is called guest middleware. So guest middleware means that you are not currently logged in. This guest middleware will check if you are already logged in. So if you are already logged in and you are guarding this URL with the guest middleware, then guest middleware will kick you out of this page. So let's recap one more time. So the way the guest middleware works is that if you guard any route with a guest URL, then it will check are you already logged in. If you are already logged in, that means you cannot be a guest. So it will kick you out of that page. So we want this URL to be guarded with the guest middleware. So let's go to web routes. So this is our admin and this is the login page. So now we want to chain in a middleware. Okay, let's not put this middleware with the routes because we have already decided that for the admins we are going to use the controllers. So let's go to this admin login and over here let's define a construct. This middleware. So the name of the middleware is guest, but because this is for the admin, so we have to attach a guard which is admin. So now every method in this admin is guarded with this guest middleware, but the guard is admin. Okay, now let's go back. Now let's refresh. Now hopefully we will be kicked out of this page. Okay, so we did get kicked out of that page because now we are already logged in as an admin, but we got redirected back to this /home URL. Now let's go to the web browser and look for /home. So we have two /homes, but if we notice where, let's go to the, okay, so this is first /home, but if you notice this /home is grouped inside admin with the prefix admin. So this is not actually /home, it's actually /admin/home. Likewise, for the second one, like this is first, for the second one, this is for the shop. So it's not just /home because it's prefixed with this shop. So the address is /shop/home. That means there is no URL which is only /home. So where is this /home coming from? because the last middleware that got executed and which kicked us out of the login page. So that means that /home address is also defined there. So now we need to go to the guest middleware. So let's go to the kernel. Okay, so let's go to the kernel and let's one more time check the exact name for that guest middleware, as we already know that since guest is just a alias. So this guest middleware is actually defined in app http middleware redirect if authenticated class. So let's go to that class, redirect if authenticated, and this is its handle method. Over here, what happens first is that basically it has been passed three methods: request, the closure next, which will take us to the next URL, and the collection of cards. So these three dots is called ellipse operator or split operator in PHP. In JavaScript, it's called a spread operator. So this means this guard variable can consist of any number of variables. So it can be empty, 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. The number is not fixed. So these kind of variables are called variadic variables in PHP. So the first thing that is happening over here is that first of all, this guards variable is checked. If it's empty, then an array is created with one value which is null. Otherwise, we keep the same guards variable. Now we are iterating over this guards variable one guard at a time. So over here it checks if we are authenticated with a guard, that means you are not guest, then return us to route service provider with a constant called home. And if we go back to home, it is just /home. So let's make it shop/home as a default. Now let's go back to redirect if authenticated. Now over here we have to do a little bit tweaking, and we have to make sure if it's an admin guard, then go to the home page for the admin. Otherwise, go to this home page which is defined over here, which is shop/home, which is for the customers. So basically this one is for the customers. Now we have to add logic for the admins. So we have to define similar logic. So copy, paste it over here. Okay, so first thing we have to check is if the current value of card is equal to admin and you are authenticated as well, that means you are logged in as well. In that case, return to, let's change it to route admin/home. So if the current value of guard is admin and you are logged in as a admin as well, then return us to the admin.home page. If that is not the case, we will move on to the next one. So over here, if the guard, whatever is the value, that means the default guard. If you are authenticated with the default guard and you are trying to access the login page with the default guard, in that case, you should be redirected back to whatever is stored in this constant, which is /shop/home. Okay. Now, again, let's try to access the login page for the admin, and since we were already logged in, so we got kicked out of that page and we have been redirected back to the login page for the admins. Let's try to do the same for the users. So first of all, we need to log in as a user. Okay, user1 at user.com 1234. Submit. This is the home page for the customers. Okay, now let's try to access the login page for the customers. Okay, it didn't work over here. Let's refresh. User1 at user.com 1234. Okay, this is the home page for customers. Now let's try to log in one more time. What could be the problem? Oh, actually we haven't yet guarded this route with the guest middleware. We only guarded the login form for the admin, not for the customers. So let's just do that. Okay, so this is the URL, this login one. Okay, so we have to attach a middleware which is guest middleware. Now since we are using the default guard, so we don't need to mention the guard over here. Actually not this home one, it's the login one for the customer over here, this one. So attach a middleware, and the middleware is guest, but this time we are using the default guard, so we don't need to mention this. Now this login URL is guarded with a guest middleware. Let's refresh. Now because we were already logged in, therefore we got kicked out of that URL by the guest middleware and we got redirected back to the home page. Okay, so these were all the nitty-gritties of the multi-user authentication without using any packages in Laravel. Now the only thing left is that we are going to go through all the URLs and see if we need to attach any middlewares with the rest of the URLs as well. There is that, and there is one more thing I keep forgetting. Let me mention that. As we remember, for the admins ones, in the kernel we have defined another group called web. So since this group is defined in the middleware group, and this web is a collection of middlewares which is given the name web, and this is the default middleware which gets applied to all the HTTP requests. But because for the admins we are changing it to admin, that means these middlewares does not get executed for the HTTP request. Now currently our project is working fine. It's not causing any errors, but it might cause some issues for the commercial level projects since they are going to be huge projects. There is going to be a lot of logic. So it is possible that not executing these middlewares can cause a problem. So we have to make sure that for our admins as well, these middlewares are also executed, because this is the default behavior that was provided by the Laravel. So we want to keep the default behavior as well as this admin middleware as well. So let's go to admin account, and this is where we have defined using this middleware. So by using this middleware, now the web, which is the default middleware, is not being used. So what we are going to do is that, since as you know we are already inside this array, so we can mention this web middleware as well. If we like, we can place this earlier or before this admin, because these are default middleware, so they should execute first, and then we should move on to this admin middleware collection as well. Okay, so that was that thing. Now let's go to the web routes and one by one look at the routes and see if we need to attach or guard them with any middleware as well. So let's go to the web routes and let's start with the admin. Okay, so we should be able to see the layout page without any middlewares. Then this controller category, these middlewares, these routes should also be guarded with the auth admin middleware. And since we have created a new middleware, the custom middleware, so we will be attaching that middleware with all of these routes. So let's go to the category controller, and over here let's create a class. Sorry, not class, function underscore construct this middleware. Okay, let's use first web, the default one, and then admin. Okay, well, okay, but for the time being I'm going to comment this out. So currently no route for the category controller is being guarded with any middleware. And now let's go and see its effects. Let's first delete the logged in user and refresh. So we got redirected back to the login form. But if we try to access this one /admin/categories page, we should be able to see it because we are not guarding these routes with any middlewares. Okay, we are able to see this even when we are not logged in. So therefore it's very important that these are also guarded against the middleware that we have defined. So now let's uncomment it. Okay, now the default middleware defined in the web section of the middleware groups will be executed. Then okay, this is just admin. then this will execute. And what this middleware will do is that it will check if you are currently logged in or not as an admin. If you are not logged in as admin, it will kick you out of that page and take you back to the login page for the admin. So let's refresh. And you just saw, because we are not logged in as admin, so we can't see this page. Let's try one more time. And we can't see that. Okay. Now let's go back to the web browser. So these are all guarded. Now for the product controller, again for this one, because we are going to apply the middleware to all of these routes, so the best place is the controller. Okay, let's go to category controller and copy this. Now product controller, and paste it over here. I'm not saving it at the moment, and let's try to see the products. So /admin/products. And we can see the products. We should not be able to see the products because we are not logged in. So this is product controller, and let's save it. Now let's go refresh, and we are not able to see them because we are not logged in as an admin. Let's go back to the web browser, and so admin account is already guarded, admin login is also guarded, and this login authenticate is also guarded. Okay, we also need to define the logout functionality as well, but let's complete this mission first. So we should be able to see the shop, the home page for the shop, without being logged in. Then the customer account is authenticated with the auth middleware with default guard. Okay, fine. Then this middleware, even though it's a farm, so it's not an issue, but if we like just to be extra certain, we should also attach this middleware with the submission of this form. Okay, login, we have attached it. Okay. Now let's go down, and this should not be guarded by any middleware because we should be able to, the customer should be able to see individual products of a category without being logged in. So now we need to define the logout functionality. So this is, okay, let's move this on, copy paste. Okay, now for the logout, and method is going to be get. The method is get, and then let's change the function name to logout, customer logout. Then middleware is going to be auth middleware with the default guard, because this is the customer being logged out. Now let's copy this and take it to the admin one. Okay, over here, paste method get /logout. Name is going to be admin.logout. Middleware is going to be, because we have created the middleware with the name admin, so that's the middleware. But probably we don't need it because this middleware is going to be defined in the admin login. Okay, so now we have to define the logout method, but over here we are saying that all the functions that are defined over here are supposed to be applied with the guest middleware, and the guard should be admin. But for the logout, you can't be guest. So we are going to append another chain in another method, which is called accept, and over here we are going to define the logout function name. Okay, so now this middleware is going to be applied to all the methods defining this controller except for this logout. Okay, now let's define this logout function. So let's define this function. Public function logout. The logic for logout is very simple. We are simply going to use the auth facade, and since we are defining the logic for the admin, so we have to define the guard, which is admin, and to that we are going to chain in a built-in function in the auth facade, which is called logout. Next, we are going to redirect the user to Now since we are defining this logic for the admin, so once the admin has been logged out, we should redirect it back to the login page. So admin dot login. Okay, this is the logic. Now copy this and let's go back to the customer login controller. Okay, so this is the customer login controller. Now let's back this logout function. Now we can remove the card, or let's remove it since we are using the default card. And then for this customer, once it gets logged out, we are going to return the customer to shop.home. I think that's the name. Let's verify. Shop.home. Okay, we can send the we should send the customer back to the landing page of the website. Okay. Do we need to do anything else? Nothing. I think that's it. Now let's verify. Let's delete the current session. It's already deleted, I think. So refresh. Okay, yeah. Since the session was already deleted, so the moment I refresh the page, we were returned back to the login page for the admin. Okay, now since we are going here first, so user1 at user.com 1234. Okay, so this is the home page for the customer. Now admin1 at admin.com 1234. Okay, so we are home page for the admin and home page for the customer. Now let's try to go back to the login form, and we got redirected back to the home page for the admin. Again over here, we got redirected back to the landing page for the website because this is the address we have defined in the home constant. But since we are logged in, so we are able to view this page. Okay, now log out, and we got successfully redirected back to the logout page. Sorry, login form, because we successfully logged out and we are now being redirected back to the admin login form. But for the customer, once we log out, we will be sent back to the landing page for the website. There it is. Now this is the basic logging out, but before we end this topic over here, I am going to show you what is defined in the Laravel documentation itself. So this is the logout request, and over here the user is being logged out with the default card. But if you notice over here, there are two more lines of code, which is request session invalidate and request session regenerate token. So basically, after logging out, over here what is tried over here is that they are trying to invalidate the current session and the new session is regenerated. But if you include these two lines of code in our project, what this will do is that even if you try to log out just as admin, it will also log you out of customer as well, and vice versa. Let me show you. So over here, let's use the request helper function, then session, and then invalidate. Then regenerate token. Okay, so copy, say one more time. Let's go to the customer login. Paste it over here. Now let's go to login, and let's log in as customer. So user1 at user.com 1234. Okay, now for the admin, let's refresh first. Admin1 at admin.com 1234. Okay, now let's log out the customer. Okay, now let's refresh, and as you saw, we just only logged out as a customer, but we have also been logged out as admin as well. So that's why we are not going to use these two pieces of code. However, this should have worked, but for some reason it isn't working. Just wanted you to be aware of it. Okay, so with this, our authentication logic is almost complete. What remains is resetting the password and remember me logic. So we are not going to cover these two pieces over here, since our main focus is completing the whole project. However, if you are interested, we can create a separate authentication project which will cover every aspect of authentication in Laravel without using any packages. And the other thing that remains is the presentation logic, that is the CSS and styling. Since we have covered so much of CSS and styling, and we will be reusing the same theme, so I'm not going to cover the CSS styling in this video. So from next video, we will work on other aspects of our project. Okay, so that was it. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe and share. Your positive comments mean so much to me, so please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe and share. Thank you so much.